Ruben Amorim sends a clear message to the players to fix up or get out. Decision makers at United are disappointed with Rasmus Højlund, as Zirkzee is now more likely to be kept this summer. Initial contact made for Patrik Schick. United target a younger goalkeeper if Onana leaves this summer, with Lemens, Costa and Ramsdale all linked. And David Ornstein confirms that Amorim is fond of Semenyo. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with, let's go for the Amorim stuff first. So Ruben Amorim was fuming this morning. The meet and greet with kids was cancelled, plus an emergency first team meeting was called, players getting a huge bollocking, no one dared to speak, message was clear, you have until the end of the season to fix up or you are out. That came from Sully Talks. That was yesterday, suggesting that Amorim came in fuming, called a meeting. He did say he's cancelled the meet and greet with the kids. That's not true, because I've seen photos online with him and Garnacho actually meeting the kids. So whether that was delayed or whether it's nonsense, who knows? But they normally have kind of meetings and stuff as well. But apparently Ruben Amorim fuming again with the players. And again, it's what he's similar to what he said before when he effectively told them, you know, to fix up or F off. It was the last one when he smashed the TV and stuff in the dressing room, where he had a bit of a rage with the players. And apparently, according to Sully Talks, she's been fairly decent actually recently with like injury news and youth team news and stuff going on behind the scenes, suggesting that there was some kind of meeting called, and Amorim's kind of lost his temper again with the players and basically told them to fix up or they're out, which is fair enough. But some of the players are out of contract anyway that I would have had an issue with against Newcastle, like Lindelof and Eriksson, for example. Like, they don't really care; they're gone anyway in the summer. You know, I just hope the club back him, that there's players there that he's not happy with, and not kind of cutting the mustard and not doing what they do. They've got to be moved on, which is easier said than done though, because of the wages and the PSR rules and the inflated fees that we've paid for these players as well. It does kind of like, it's just so frustrating that we can't just, you know, sell the players that we can, because we've paid ridiculous ridiculous kind of amounts for some of these players, which makes it nigh on impossible from a PSR perspective to move them on, and then you'll end up loaning them. It's just a mess. I just hope he gets backed to, you know, get rid of the players that need to get gotten rid of as well. But yeah, I no issue with Amorim losing his temper again on the players. I do think they need it. You know, and it is what it is. It is what it is. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now let's move on to some transfer news. So Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim is planning to keep Joshua Zirkzee and listen to offers for Rasmus Højlund after re-evaluating his attacking options ahead of being able to make adjustments to his Old Trafford squad during the summer. Gimme Sports sources have revealed. Key decision makers at United believe Zirkzee will develop into a better fit for Amorim's side and is also a good squad player. Gimme Sports sources understand increasing the likelihood of fellow centre forward Højlund being given the chance to quit when the transfer window reopens for business. And that came from Danny Rust and Dean Jones from Gimme Sport, who are actually fairly decent sources. And what the kind of report was suggesting is that the decision makers at United believe that because Zirkzee's improving this season and he's on a kind of upward trajectory, and because of the decline in Højlund, they now are basically upset with Højlund, or they're kind of disappointed that he hasn't fulfilled his potential, or he's not on the pathway to reach his potential because of his kind of decline, that it's now likely that if we are going to sell a striker in the summer, then they're going to go for Højlund over Zirkzee. You know, whether we're going to sell Højlund though, again, there is interest from Italian clubs. We've had Napoli linked with him, recent links with Juventus. Whether they're going to have the money though to buy him because of the PSR rules, and this is one of the players that, you know, as an example for the Ruben Amorim stuff I just mentioned there as well, will be paid such a high fee for him. We need to make about, I think it's around 40 million pounds for his book value to not make a PSR loss. The report the other day was we were asking for 52 million pounds for an exit or for a sale. So, you know, I could see a situation where if Højlund does kind of get moved on, it'll probably be a loan with then maybe like an option or an obligation to buy next season, or maybe we loan him out just to try and regain his form and confidence, and and then kind of give him the benefit of the doubt that he was put into the first team too soon in a team that don't create chances for a striker. Who knows? That couldn't be ruled out as well. But apparently, according to that report, Zirkzee likely to stay. Decision made on Højlund is that if they are going to remove a striker to make space in the squad, it's going to be Højlund over Zirkzee. And I can kind of see why they would make that decision, because, Højlund is declined this season compared to last season. And actually, Zirkzee's turned his season around from his start, where now actually I'm gutted that he's injured. There's no injury update on Zirkzee at the moment, where he's kind of been our best attacking player since Ahmed went out injured. Which is fair play. To Zirkzee for turning his kind of career around as well at United. But give us your thoughts and opinions on that in the comments below. It'll be interesting to read those later. Now, in terms of strikers, we've obviously been linked with a plethora of them in the past, but now let's add another name to the list. So United are monitoring the situation of Patrik Schick, 29. The club prefer a younger profile, but Schick is also considered interesting. Initial contact was made, but nothing concrete so far. Leverkusen would want 25 to 30 million euros. For those working in pounds, it's 21 to 25 million pounds. Really interesting profile of player. Goes against everything that we're being told, though, about young, developmental, up and coming. Would maybe be one that's seen as a kind of, it's going to be a cheaper option, isn't it? And I just hope they're not doing this as your first choice. If you're going to get Delap for 30 and then 20 on, or 20 to 25 on Patrik Schick and bring in two strikers, I'm kind of cool with that. Someone older, someone a bit more experienced, and then someone younger like Delap, or even keeping Højlund and let him kind of learn off of someone maybe. But although I think Højlund needs a kind of break, I think he looks mentally kind of drained by what's been happening at United, and I don't blame him, by the way. I think that's the environment and the circumstances that we kind of unfortunately put a very inexperienced young player into the first team, and it's not fair. Not totally not fair on Højlund, that one. We'll obviously have to wait and see. But in terms of Schick, got good. He's a goal scorer. That's the way I would kind of describe him. Top 99% for goals, 97 for non-penalty goals, top 94 for shots. So he is an out-and-out kind of goal scorer, not necessarily one that's going to get involved in the link-up play and stuff. He's quite a patient striker as well, I think, where he's happy to not get involved in the kind of game, but can hover around the kind of right areas in the kind of penalty area to score, and is actually, I think, would be a reasonable option if it wasn't for his absolutely horrific injury record, which I'm going to show you in a second. But in terms of 40 appearances, 23 goals, 1 assist for Schick this season, which is not bad at all. Is someone that's kind of scoring goals regularly, but as I mentioned there, his injury record is horrific. That would be a massive red flag, especially if you are going to bring him as your top kind of striker choice, which surely you wouldn't be. Surely United are not going to look at Schick as like a £25 million perfect solution as a number one target for the striker position, like Jonathan David's for free, and I would much rather Jonathan David, whose injury record is elite. He's like, I don't think he's actually missed any games in injury. It's like that amazing off of memory, or if it is, it's very, very few games that Jonathan David's kind of missed, and he would be way cheaper than Schick. But is he the right profile? You don't know. But yeah, massive red flag in terms of age and injury record for me for Schick. But outside of that, would be an interesting option to bring in as a backup or a rotation option. I would kind of steer clear of that, though, if he's going to be your number one striker option, and that would kind of be a sad state of affairs of where United are, in my opinion, if he's going to be your kind of first choice striker. But give us your thoughts and your opinions on that in the comments below, because I would be very interested to hear your opinion on Patrik Schick. I will bow down to your knowledge, so give us your opinions on that in the comments. Now, another striker, obviously, we've been heavily linked with is Liam Delap, so it's between Manchester United and Chelsea now in the race to sign Liam Delap. They are ahead of Bundesliga's club, so that came from Fabrizio Romano, suggesting that straight out race between us and Chelsea. Obviously, the news yesterday was Chelsea are looking to get an early deal done. When we come to competing for transfers with Chelsea, we always lose. So, that's not looking very good, which I know some of you actually might be okay with. It's going off of the comments on previous videos as well. But it's one of these. We'll need to kind of keep an eye on it. But according to Romano, between us and Chelsea for for Liam Delap, but the reports were yesterday that Chelsea are in advanced negotiations or in advanced talks and are in a much stronger position financially and everything like that as well to make a deal happen quicker than we can, in which case we might lose out, and plus they'll offer him a 20-year contract and loads of money and stuff, so yeah, keep an eye on it for you. But again, some of you might be happy with that. Some of you might be pleased with that in the comments, but we'll kind of see how it goes. We'll just need to wait and see how that one kind of plays out. Now, the Gazzetta dello Sport, who are a decent source, saying that Manchester United are reportedly keen on signing the Juventus attacker Kenan Yildiz at the end of the season. Yildiz is highly rated across Europe and is a prodigious young talent with a bright future. United are very interested in him. Now, that came from the Gazzetta, again, linking us with Yildiz. He is a player that we know we've had... I think it was, would we have with the report saying that we've held talks around him or have made kind of contact to see around the price. I think the fee was sort of ridiculous, like £90 million and stuff before, though there was stories saying that it's kind of come down a little bit as well, which is fair enough. The kind of report is that Juventus might be in a similar situation to us, whereas if they don't get Champions League football, they might be in a position where they have to sell some of their players in order to rebuild the squad, and Yildiz would be seen as one, that you could maybe get a lot of money for, because he's a very talented young player. So we'll need to kind of keep an eye on that one. We've been linked with him for a few times now, but I'm sure there'll be other teams across the world that will be interested in him if he becomes available, because he is a top young talent with bags of potential as well. So yeah, we'll need to see how that kind of develops. And then actually, interestingly, Juventus might be interested in Højlund as well. So maybe there's some kind of deal to be done there, like a loan. We loan Højlund and get like a bit of a kind of mates rates for Yildiz. That couldn't be, that's plausible, I suppose, as well, if the interest from Juventus in Højlund is true. But give us your thoughts on Yildiz in the comments. Now, Ruben Amorim is very fond of Antoine Semenyo. Bournemouth would want in excess of £65 million to sell him. That's ridiculous for Semenyo. I like Semenyo. I think he's a good player, can fill multiple positions, is Premier League proven, got a few goals. My concern with him is what I shared in the previous video, is he does have a lot of shots for very little output. So he is quite a frustrating player in terms of his, his final kind of decision making, but, would improve the team. I think he's quick, strong, powerful, all of the kind, all everything we're kind of missing. Can play in multiple positions as well, but not for £65 million. But Ben Jacobs said that Semenyo is on the radar of Al Nassr as well as Arsenal, Manchester United. Bournemouth hope to keep Semenyo, but a bid in the region of £75 million would likely be accepted. That's way too much, in my opinion, for Semenyo. That's more than Cunha. That's more than Xavi Simons. That's probably more than Yildiz that we've just mentioned there as well. Do you know what I mean? That's a ridiculous fee, I think, for Semenyo. He's a good player. I think he would be a good player to bring in like a squad option, or can play in the attacking position, could play at wing back as well. He's got that kind of flexibility in terms of the squad and stuff, but 40-50 million pound I think would maybe be reasonable. Anything above that, I'd be giving that a massive wide berth personally. There's way better players, in my opinion, that could be available if we had that sort of money. Like Osimhen is less than that, and we need Osimhen way more than Semenyo, in my opinion. Like I said, Cunha's cheaper than that as well. That's a ridiculous kind of fee, but we'll keep an eye on it, because obviously if there is interest, Ornstein's saying that there's clear interest in there, whether there can be a deal done or whether that's Bournemouth just saying, yeah, we want £100 million like Southampton did with Tyler Dibbling, and then a few weeks time the price kind of drops. We'll have to wait and see. But Bournemouth might be getting a lot of money anyway through other player sales as well. So I don't think they're going to be in a desperate position to necessarily need to sell Semenyo as well. But again, we'll keep an eye on it. Give us your thoughts on that in the comments. Now, Manchester United rejected Real Betis' approach to extend Antony's loan for one more season. Manchester United are looking to sell him permanently. Now, that came from the Mirror. Now, remember there were reports the other day about Betis being in negotiations with Antony, or United regarding Antony. So maybe those negotiations were on about like a loan, not a purchase, that United have apparently now rejected from the Mail, because they want to sell him permanently as well, and rightly so. I think we need to stop having our pants pulled down when it comes to these sort of dealings, and just letting our players kind of play for other teams on the cheap and stuff. Anthony's done enough, I think, to warrant a sale that doesn't involve a PSR loss from us, because he's obviously proven that he is a good player, or there's something there. He's just maybe not a good Premier League player, which there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's not, it's not for everybody. And maybe some other interest from Spanish teams. There are reports that Atletico Madrid might be interested, some Italian clubs as well, Saudi clubs. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we should be looking to loan him out again if we can sell him, because that obviously gets him off the wage book, and maybe we might make a bit of profit as well from a PSR book perspective, not in terms of his actual salary. No one's going to pay what we paid for Anthony. He hasn't been that good at Real Betis, as decent as he's been over there as well. We're not going to get anywhere near that. But in terms of his book value for United, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And then Tom Heaton and Johnny Evans are both set to leave Manchester United at the end of the season. That's been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano, as if that wasn't always likely to happen anyway. But Romano confirming that Johnny Evans and Tom Heaton are going to leave at the end. Obviously, Lindelof, Eriksson will be the other ones, potentially going out for definite because their contracts are expiring as well. But yeah, no surprise there. Now, let's go for the Onana news. So the position of goalkeeper has not been on the agenda for United to this point. Striker is the priority, plus perhaps another attacker, a midfielder and a wing-back. But faith in Onana is eroding due to the mistakes in pivotal moments, and after Amorim gave him space to disconnect, there was a feeling around the club a lasting separation could at least be explored by both sides. Now, I don't know what that means from Laurie Whitwell. Can he not speak English? Does that mean that maybe he's going to be out of the team for a while, or is it saying that they're going to sell him, a lasting separation on both sides? So is that like a sale? Let me know in the comments. Some people at United think Onana got distracted by the verbal sparring with Nemanja Matic ahead of the first leg against Lyon, a theory supported not only by the 2 errors for the goals in the 2-2 draw, but his interaction with the French fans. They booed his arrival, and he appeared to stare their way at a goal kick when United led 2-1. And the primary purpose of the switch... So this was interesting, actually, from Laurie Whitwell. This is a piece in The Athletic, by the way, from Laurie Whitwell. So I just ran straight into it, got ahead of myself. Now, this was really interesting regarding... So obviously the news was that Onana switched agency in December. So according to Laurie Whitwell, he said the primary purpose of the switch was to get a fresh outlook and possibly, in time, negotiate a new contract. Onana's current terms include... the squad-wide pay cut for non-qualification to the Champions League, which is a standard 25%, but can be negotiated individually. Onana expected United to compete in the Champions League, though, and the financial drop came as a shock to the system when activated last summer. Onana had a conversation on the matter with Sporting Director Dan Ashworth. So Laurie Whitwell may be suggesting that the reason he did change agencies in December, I think it was actually to do with the contract, because Onana's maybe not happy with the pay cut that he had to receive as non-Champions League kind of football. So maybe they maybe he is looking for a kind of new contract or some kind of deal, which I don't think United should do in any stretch of the imagination for any player at the moment, let alone kind of Onana, who's been not in the best form, I'll say, at the moment. So that's really interesting from Laurie Whitwell, suggesting that actually he did change agencies because he wanted a new contract, or he wanted to negotiate the kind of 25% reduction in his pay individually with the kind of club. So that's really interesting. And then Laurie Whitwell also said the £43.8 million fee agreed with Inter is amortized into United's accounts over the length of Onana's 5-year contract, and still holds a book value of £26.3 million. Finding a buyer to bid more than that is expected to be a struggle. It is for this reason that some people close to the situation believe Onana will ultimately stay at United unless a loan becomes palatable. So Laurie Whitwell suggesting that because we need to sell Onana for more than £26.3 million to not avoid a PSR loss, are we going to get that from other teams? I think we could get that from Saudi Pro League, surely, if the Saudi teams, because the story from Romano yesterday was saying that there is interest from the Saudi Pro Leagues. I think we could get that from the Saudi club, surely, for someone like Onana, even if it's 30 million quid, just to avoid that kind of PSR loss if you are in a desperate kind of situation where you do want to remove Onana. Or he's suggesting there may be a loan with an option to buy or an obligation to buy or something like that as well, which doesn't help us. But again, it just frustrates me, the shit show of the previous kind of transfers that we've kind of made with very little thought, very little direction. It's just a shambles, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I look back, I shared it in yesterday's video, all the signings that we made under Erik ten Hag. you look back in hindsight and think, Jesus, what the fuck were we thinking with some of those decisions? Do you know what I mean? Like it's not been. We've ended up massive egg on our face, and we need to get better at doing that. We need to recruit players for the club and not the manager, which is what leads to this kind of situation. But yeah, what do we do with Onana? Give us your thoughts in the comments below. So Fabrizio Romano, though, was saying that if Onana leaves the club, I expect Manchester United to sign a talented young goalkeeper. So that would be interesting to see, obviously, how the situation plays out. In terms of replacements, Sene Lamens is indeed one of the names on the list internally at the club if Andrew Onana leaves this summer. That came from Dylan McBennett, who's fairly decent. Diogo Costa is among Manchester United's targets for the goalkeeper role. That came from Nicola, who's an Italian journalist, very fairly decent as well. I think Costa would be my preferred option to come in as a goalkeeper, but he's going to be massively expensive, and I don't think we have the budget available to do that, unfortunately. And then the Sun was saying that Manchester United are monitoring Aaron Ramsdale ahead of a potential summer move for the ex-Arsenal player. I'm going to say take that one with a big fat pinch of salt as well, because it came from the Sun. Unless you're looking as a backup, unless Bayinder's going to go and Onana's going to go, then maybe you could get Ramsdale as like your backup goalkeeper. He's English, he's homegrown. I suppose that's plausible, but no way should we be going near Aaron Ramsdale as our number one option, in my opinion. So I think that a little bit of that is media mischief as well. I do think people are jumping on the bandwagon with the goalkeeper situation, so we're probably going to get linked with a lot more goalkeepers. I would imagine, like we are with strikers, because clubs know we need a striker, and obviously the Onana situation is the kind of talk of the town at the moment as well. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. It'll be interesting to read them later. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.